Jim Harbaugh, this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? Like Jim Harbaugh still has an NCAA investigation from recruiting violation from the COVID dead period that is on him. I think the other thing that is operating here is, are we giving him the benefit of the doubt on this? Now, we say we're not the NCAA.
Right.
We're not Tony Petitti.
They're not gonna.
No, but I think ultimately it's as much on the Big Ten right now, because they're the ones who have the leeway to jump in ahead of time now.
And do what? Take away wins?
I don't know if it's take away wins. Here's what I would think. And this is something, like people are not, 100% on this. Do you punish the team? And what did J.J. McCarthy have to do this? Now, the thing that I think more people buy in is Harbaugh needs to be disciplined for this. Does that mean Harbaugh gets suspended for the rest of the season while this goes on? If I was a Michigan fan, quite honestly, I would much rather have that played out than my team. Right. I don't think a postseason bowl ban, this is my own opinion from talking to a lot of people, seems like the optimum way to do it. Now, if they can, if there's an investigation going on and you find out that the coordinators, and again, the Jesse Minter stuff, the defensive coordinator, that does not look good from them, just the optics of it. That doesn't mean he's guilty of this.
Of course.
But again, this is a guy who's like, this wasn't a former head coach who happened to be on. This isn't like, hey, we got Cliff Kingsbury over here who's a decorated, long-time football mind here. We have a guy whose title is he works in the recruiting office.
Who, Connor Stallions?
Connor Stallions.
Yeah,
that's what he like.
Dude, I have no idea.
This smells really bad for Michigan.
I
that doesn't mean that doesn't mean Jim Harbaugh.
That's what I'm saying. It smells bad for Michigan, and I understand it looks bad when you see him.
What do you think they should
do? What do I think?
What do you think?
I don't know what's happening though. I don't know, and you don't know completely what's happening.
No, I don't know.
You have spoken to 50 coaches who believe they know. Nobody knows. I need to see an actual investigation.
But that's what's going on
announced, and that's what I need to see.
So the question
is, here's what I also need to see.
Michigan has suspended Connor Stallions already.
I don't want to see him again. Honestly, I don't want to see him ever again. I don't know why he was within 100 million miles of Schembechler Hall. Honestly.
If Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten, said, hey, right now, we're going to suspend Jim Harbaugh for the remainder of the season pending this investigation, what would you think of that?
I would have a problem with that.
Why? Because you're suspending Connor Stallions and he's supposed to be responsible.
Correct, because he's the one that's Venmoing people that you have the receipts for, and he's the one that apparently folks are like, I'm a Division III coach. And I actually got money to sit at a Nebraska game or whatever. We don't know what Jim has done. And until we know what Jim has done, we're not suspending him in advance. Well, you're
suspending this guy, and Jim's responsible for that guy. I'm saying.
Okay. So let's just put it this way. Would you agree that if Michigan runs the table and eviscerates everybody in the same way that they'd eviscerate everyone else with Connor Stallions ripped out root and branch, there's no asterisk to it?
I don't know if I would go that far because I don't know what Rich. I don't know exactly what they're on the hook for right now. I wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying. So you're going to suspend Harbaugh without knowing who's on the hook.
The reason why I'd say it might be a more viable scenario is because you already have Jim under investigation for something else. He served 3 years, 3 games for it. That's not what the NCAA was going to say. And by the way, that is a significant thing.
All right, let me push back here too. NCAA, first of all. Okay. Secondly,
I'm saying the Big Ten here.
Okay, Big Ten's different. Secondly, who's doing the reporting on this independent firm that knocks on the NCAA door and says, oh, guess what we found? Some lunatic that's running around with tickets, and cell phone cameras. Who's that person? Who's that entity?
That's a great question.
That is a great question. That's what I'd like to do. But
that doesn't absolve.
It doesn't absolve.
That's a little whataboutism stuff going on, though.
It's not whataboutism. I'm not saying, but you don't think it's a key ingredient to all this to find out what's going on?
I think it's a piece of it, okay. But I also don't think...
It doesn't absolve anything. Yeah. Understand what I'm saying. It doesn't absolve anything. But it's kind of an interesting
it's curious.
question.
It is very
here.
curious. And look, I'll be honest.
Have you ever heard of that, first of all? So an independent firm knocking on the door of the NCAA, and nobody in the media is asking, Who hired the independent firm?
People, because I know before, and I'm trying to think who had that. It was
I'm not
Washington,
seeing a piece on that. I'm seeing where Connor Stalions bought his tickets.
That is
I'm seeing him dressed like a clown on the sideline of Central Michigan.
This has turned into a feeding frenzy on because I know my colleagues at The Athletic spent a bunch of time chasing that.
Yes.
And the Washington Post was able to get at it before we could get it in the print.
They got it that's how the NCAA found out about it. But I read that Washington Post piece over and over and over again. Not even a split second was there. Wasn't even a line about we have not determined who's hired. It was just a firm.
Rich,
did it.
Because they're not as sloppy as Connor Stalions and Stalions was in this.
Which means what? They don't have it, so they don't even put in a line.
People are going to blast it out because we don't. There people have theories because I know I've been on these same Slack exchanges with my colleagues about as we've tried to report on this. Mm-hmm. You can't just push everything out there to that degree. But I think some of this is because they were so brazen and sloppy.
Who's they?
They is Michigan because it's Connor Stalions who works there. I mean, it'd be different if he didn't, but he did, and he was prominent last year for a recruiting analyst.
Yeah, please. I totally understand what you're saying.
Like,
I get what you're saying, and that's why it's a timely situation. Certainly, if you're putting out there as a supposition, Bruce Feldman, that Harbaugh should be suspended for the rest of the year. Michigan should go on this magical run with the interim head coaches or whomever, right?
That's worked in the basketball program before,
man,
correct?
Steve Fisher, hung a banner. I get it. I understand it. But what are you hearing? Is Michigan going to give him a contract? You hearing that?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that that's in the works. That would honestly surprise me because Jim Harbaugh there's a couple of things that are going on here. Jim Harbaugh did dances with the NFL before. Now he's going to have, and look, he told me this was, like in the summer, I feel like I have 20 guys who are going to get drafted this year.
By the way, he's not wrong.
He might not be wrong. No, but all those guys are going to move on.
Right.
Like whatever happens this year, if they win the national title, if they go to the playoff, whatever, it's a borderline great team. We're going to find out.
Right.
But they're probably not going to be anywhere near as good next year. You're still got the NCAA on you from the COVID dead period sanctions. Who knows how this thing is going to play out? I just sit there and go, if you're Jim Harbaugh and you can get to the NFL, right? Now, we heard he bombed the interview with the Vikings 2 years ago, and it didn't work out with the Broncos. But he was, he's a proven, unlike almost every guy who came from college football, whether it's Urban Meyer or Matt Rule, he was wildly successful as an NFL head coach.
Yes, sir. Only guy who's coaching the college football playoff game and the Super Bowl.
So he's like, to me, it's like, now whether he ends up, I know you talked about Lou Anarumo being the next guy at the Raiders. I don't know, there's going to be a bunch of jobs that I suspect will come open or might come open.
Sure.
That Jim Harbaugh has some ties to already.
And he can have his personnel guy inserted right away. Like, for sure, like whatever plan he was placing in front of other NFL owners.
I don't get how Michigan would set up and go, okay, we've had all this drama with Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, we know he's a really good college coach, but we're gonna roll through with this with the NCAA and just say, hey, we're good with all this. To me, it doesn't make that much sense from both sides of this. It really doesn't.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.